Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about everybody fleeing Hollywood. According to the Hollywood Reporter, struggling entertainment workers are fleeing Hollywood. Some employers balk at showbiz background. So they're trying to leave Hollywood, get out of Hollywood because the jobs are drying up. But they're not getting jobs. They're not getting normal jobs because the employers are looking at their resume and they're like, oh, okay. So
you're going to be a problem.
You're going to be a problem because you're from Hollywood, right? Or those skills don't apply to, learning the code or something. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
I want to be very clear, right up front. I feel like we always have to disclaim this because people take what we say out of context. I'm not happy about people being put out of work.
No.
Hollywood is definitely having its day of reckoning, and we did a video yesterday talking about how so many movies and TV shows and studios are going to have to pivot now because of the election, and obviously the general public has made their feelings clear.
As I said, they need to pivot before this.
Yeah.
The election is just like, more confirmation that you need to pivot. Like, you've been needing to pivot for a while now.
Iceberg before you hit it, guys.
You just hit the iceberg, but there's been all kinds of warnings leading up to this that you need to pivot, and they've been starting to this year, but it's a little late now.
Yeah, and that's it, and it takes years, to course correct, but. A lot of people are getting laid off. We'll talk about the media too with the layoffs there. We'll talk about the animation industry too. They're going on strike right now. Again, not to be that guy, but look at what happened with SAG-AFTRA and the WGA. All the jobs dried up.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, all we do is warn you and tell you what it looks like is going to happen and report on the news. We don't, that doesn't mean we want people to get fired. No. We're just telling you this is what is going to happen. And it comes to pass. And they're like, you just wanted us all. It's all your fault. I'm like, no, it's not. It's your own fault. We warned you. You
push, they pull. And they pull their money.
We warn you. If you don't listen, that's on you.
Yeah. So I think this same thing is going to happen with the animation. Did an article yesterday talking about the League of Legends, Arcane, being the most expensive cartoon ever produced, is $14 million an episode. I mean, it looks really damn good, but yeah. And those days are over. Like, it's not going to happen again. This is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. Major companies are cutting costs, and production continues to lag. Professionals who have already achieved success in entertainment are applying for jobs in project management, marketing, and Whole Foods. Whole Foods.
Yeah, well, one of these things isn't like the other, but okay.
Yeah, so Paulina Williams, right? In November of last year, she faced the longest bout of unemployment she'd ever experienced. She was seriously considering what she would do if she had to leave the entertainment industry altogether. She was a reality TV veteran of 20 years, working on shows like Laguna Beach and Big Brother. And she recalls her husband asking her at some point, why don't you try to do something that you've always wanted to do and you've never had a chance to do? And she said, this is my dream job right here, honey. This is what I'm doing.
Shouldn't her husband have known that? I don't know.
You would think. You would think. They said the data on how Hollywood has cut back in the past few years has been stark. Clownfish TV lies all the time. Between the first quarters of 2022 and 2024, during which time the industry sustained 2 crippling strikes, and the bursting of the streaming bubble, if only somebody could have told you, employment in California's film, television, and sound sector dropped 30%. This year, production levels are still lagging behind their pre-strike highs. On-location filming in LA during the third quarter of 2024 dropped more than 36%.
Yeah, they're sending them every place else. It's giving them tax breaks.
They said production volume across the U.S. dropped 35%. Faced with these challenges, some of the business are retooling their resumes from a classic production format, which assumes the reader's familiarity with the business and often entails a long list of credits, to a more corporate layout that briefly describes responsibilities and highlights certain skills developed. So yeah, like you go to Whole Foods and you have to explain to them what a gaffer is. What's a grip?
Yeah, right.
They're going to be like, you were a grip. Like, did you have an OnlyFans? What I don't understand. It would be weird. I mean, I know I've applied for jobs before that were, I don't want to say below my station, but like that I was probably overqualified for, but the economy was not great. And they would actually look at my resume and they're like, you're not going to stay.
No, that's what they would tell you.
Yeah.
I think they're talking about, when you say I work in development, I think you're a fundraiser. They said, this person's been doing freelance since November. They're saying that if I'm a showrunner, what does a showrunner do? Well, we're project managers. Any producer is a project manager on some level.
Yeah.
And they said she took project management professional certification course to try to help her job search.
Well, yeah, because they actually do have, for those of you who don't know.
It's true.
Yeah, if you're a project manager, usually you ideally would have some sort of certification. But yeah, I mean, producers very much a project manager for, people are like, what do they do exactly? Well, they produce, they get shit done, they delegate responsibilities, they find money, they do all sorts of stuff. And that's really what a project manager does. So
instead of saying I'm a project manager, you say, here's what skills I have in my previous jobs.
Right.
Yes. And then I had to go get extra certifications because of it.
Yeah. Other job seekers are wondering whether having entertainment credits on their resumes helps or hurts their chances of finding other work. What happens if that's all you've ever done? Mm-hmm. What if it's like you grew up in Hollywood, you started, either as like a child star or something, or you got your first work out of college, and this is literally all you've ever done, and then you're going to go try to get a job at like Whole Foods or something.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, a lot of it I do think translates into regular jobs. Like producer is a project manager. The thing is you have to figure out how you're going to translate that work experience into a regular job. And if people have a really negative view of Hollywood, which clearly is the case,
yes,
given the fact that you're not, it's actually working to your detriment, then you're going to have to find ways around that, because it does seem to be working to your detriment because people are just over Hollywood's bullshit.
Oh my God, this is actually sad. I actually feel really bad.
I feel really bad for some of these people, because some of these people aren't the reasons why everything went to hell in a handbasket.
No, blame your union bosses, blame the studios for greenlighting shit that nobody wanted to watch.
Blame the activist people that wouldn't shut their mouths.
The activists that wouldn't shut their mouths, and they drove audiences away. I mean, there's lots of blame to go around, but this person was a production manager for 24 years. And she applied for a Whole Foods overnight stocking position. 24 years. She was on The Hills, New Beginnings. There are Pratts on there too, by the way. But she said, what happens if you get a call for a show or the industry bounces back? They fear I'm going to put in my notice and bounce.
Yeah, that's what happened to you.
That's what happened to me. So she recently worked in concessions at Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights with the goal of making it through a probationary period, after which she can apply for backlot jobs at the studio. No, this actually happened to me. I got laid off from my one job, and I tried to find another job that was outside of my field, because I pretty much, like my whole career, I worked in media, and I worked in communications. I worked in web development. I was a project manager for a while. I was a marketing manager for a while. It's very hard to go from that, like, yeah, I got like 20, 30 years of experience doing this, to like, hey, yeah, I want to stock shelves.
Well, here's another one.
They're gonna be like, no.
Here's another one. They were a renowned set decorator on shows, doing private events. She applied recently for a job that was a big job out east, but they didn't get it because they were afraid I was going to get a movie. So I think in this situation, if people, that's why you're not getting hired, is because people are afraid that you're going to leave for a Hollywood gig. You're going to have to make a choice. Because if you were going to leave for a Hollywood gig, then you're just going to have to keep the status quo and hope you get a Hollywood gig. If you honestly, sincerely just want to go to something else and that's what you want to do moving forward, you're going to have to separate yourself from Hollywood and make it abundantly clear that, no, I have no intention of going back if their movie opens up. You're going to have to make it clear that you have stepped away from that, either not including it on your resume at all, or saying, I am no longer interested in Hollywood positions. I would rather do this. This is what I like to do. And make it very clear to them that you are not going to leave. And then stick to that.
Yeah, but it's hard. I mean, if you're doing something that doesn't pay that great, it's an honest day's work, but then somebody comes along and says, hey, 6-figure job, you want it, yes or no? You're going to bounce, right? I mean, it's like, I'm making like $15 an hour, but I could be making like $150,000 a year. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave. You know what I'm saying? And people are going to lie about that too. They are going to lie. They're going to be like, yeah, of course, I would love to work at Whole Foods for the rest of my life. I would like to retire from Whole Foods and get like a little avocado watch or something, instead of going back to the entertainment business. It's just like, they said they're not leaving forever, a lot of them, but they said it's like, what do they do? I mean, it's
not fair for you to take jobs from somebody else who wants to stay at those jobs when you plan on going back too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but people want to go back, and there might not be anything to go back to. So this is why I think, to go back to the animation thing, this is why I think so many people are having a hard time with it, both in animation and comics and stuff. Like, when it's very clear that their career is, at least doing that particular thing, is coming to an end, they don't react well, right? It's like, I mean, you can tell them like, hey, look, God, I hate to use it, but the Who Moved My Cheese, the corporate book, we had to learn who moved my cheese. Well, the cheese is moving, but the people don't want to move with the cheese. Everybody has a time that they do a certain thing, and then very few people do the exact same thing for their entire lives, and they just don't understand like it's time to move on. It doesn't diminish what you've done, but it's suicide to stay on the path you're on right now. And I've seen comic book creators like living in squalor because they didn't get the memo that like everything has changed, everything's moved, and you just will not move. If
you were someone who was big and had like a reputation, you might get to come back, but a lot of people aren't going to get to come back.
Yeah. So they're like, well, you should hire entertainment workers because they know how to network and stuff. But it's like
bullshit. So do a lot of people.
Well, here's the thing. They're going to be like, look, if things are going to go the way that I think they're going to go, you're going to be competing with a bunch of federal workers here pretty soon.
Well, they're talking about these people. They said there's two people. Clients looking for ways to apply their skills to a new field and to strike a balancing act between straddling two worlds. That's the problem. You're going to have to pick. Because, some people might be able to do both, but a lot of people aren't going to hire you because they're afraid that's what your plans are. And like, we're not going to hire you and put all this effort into training you and everything else. And you're just going to up and bail and taking a job away from somebody who would want to stay. And then that's a fair view too.
Yeah, it is. So there's a whole Hollywood Second Act Club podcast. She says the initial reaction to the slowdown was sitting ducks, stunned for a long time and blindsided and paralyzed, understandably. So the scene in Austin Powers with the very slow moving steamroller?
Yes.
Yes.
It's like that.
It's just like that. Like it was coming. Everybody could, but they didn't want to listen to the alt-right bigots on YouTube. You're being negative.
You're just mean pants. You hate anybody different than you. You're just a bunch of bleepy blank blanks. Don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about, except we do.
Yeah, it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna end very well for.
Yeah, right now is not a good time for animation.
I don't think it's a good time for anybody right now. If you're working, like, look, you do you, boo. If you think you can get better, if you think you're actually being mistreated, and you think that the economic conditions are favorable, and it's time to ask for a raise, get it, right? By all means, I'm very much capitalist. I believe you get the maximum amount of money you can get, right? But I'm telling you. We've got so many case studies just in the last 3 or 4 years of what happens when people ask for too much money. Some of them get to stay and the rest of them get gone. Mm-hmm. And you can look at the rest of Hollywood, I believe, as an example of what's going to happen, because as Hollywood contracts, it's going to be more and more expensive to produce, in this case, animation. So some of you might get to stay, but then a lot of you are going to get punted and they're going to go send your work overseas where they can do it cheaper. It's basic economics, and a lot of creatives just do not understand. And they also overestimate their importance to a particular industry. And, I think that's what people are having a really hard time with is like, oh my God, the world does not revolve around us and our art.
Yeah.
Shocker. Have to go to the real world, and they don't want us either.
So they're afraid you're going to leave. So
they're afraid you're going to leave.
Are we going to wrap this up?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. There are going to be a lot of people out of work, guys, and I don't know what to tell you. I think you're going to have to figure out.
You have to think long and hard of what you want.
Yes.
And then understand that if you want to go to another industry, you can, and there's ways to leverage what you've done. But you have to understand too that they're going to be leery about hiring you because they're afraid you're going to leave. So if you...
Or you're a pain in the ass.
Right. Well, if you truly like want to make that change, then you're going to have to make sure that you understand that might mean that you don't go back. So
yeah,
it's up to you.
So let's wrap this up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Join the reef. Go to clownfish-.com. That's clownfish-.com. You will get exclusive access to podcasts and videos and comic strips and more, as well as merch discounts. Check it out. If you were a member, you could get this t-shirt, this dismal t-shirt on our website. You'd get a 10% discount on that. You can also join in the community on clownfish-.com. Thank you so much for the support.